All right, good morning, everybody. It's August 21st. Thank you very much for joining us for the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We're very glad you're with us. Just our agenda for today. We're going to start out with success stories. I don't know, I haven't heard of any. Nobody's emailed me this week, but hopefully somebody online has a good story to tell us. After that, we will have everybody enter their 30-second introduction information into the chat box so I can put it out later. After that, we'll do our committee reports, workshop, job fairs, pit crew, interview success workshop, career tip of the week, and then we'll hear our main event, our speaker talking about headshots today. For those people, I'm looking at the list, I see one or two names that I don't have a full first and last name in the chat box. So if you'll click on the participant box in the lower part of your screen, and then when you hover the arrow over the microphone and little camera, up will pop a way for you to rename yourself. That way we can get your full first and last name. That way I can update the roster and I know who you are. So I'd ask that you do it. And also that's good practice whenever you're on a video call, you know, put in your full first and last name, help people out, let them know who you are. So Ahmed, hopefully you'll do it, and I'll have to check the rest of the list here in just a second. For those people on Zoom, please use the chat box to enter your questions. And for those people on Facebook, if you'll just enter your questions into the comment box, I am monitoring that feed and I'll make sure we get those questions answered. If you're on Zoom, please, we ask that you use the speaker view. So you can go to the top of the screen right now. There's a speaker view and gallery view. It switches back and forth where that yellow arrow is. And at the very bottom, lower left-hand corner is what the speaker view looks like. That way you'll see the speaker on one side, you'll see the PowerPoint slides on the other. And where that little red arrow is, right there's a couple little white lines. You can grab that and you can slide that back and forth so that you can make the speaker bigger or smaller, whatever works for you, for whatever ratio you want between the slide and the speaker. Please note that this event is currently being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channels for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name, comments, and picture to appear. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Group since 2007. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I was part of it in 2000, 2002, 2006. So every time I was laid off in the 2000s, I would jump back in and join the group again. In 2008, I started Career DFW to help people in the DFW area have one place where they can find out about all the networking groups in the DFW area and try to compile all the information that a job seeker needs. In 2012, I launched CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. The websites are intermingled, so all the generic stuff is on Career USA. The specific stuff to DFW is on the Career DFW website. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. So we like to start the meeting off with good news, success stories. Is there anybody online? Just unmute your mic, and if you've got a landing or something, please let us know. Yes, no one today? All right, we'll move on. We had a couple landings last week. All right. Let's see here. If you do have questions or whatever, what we want to do now is we want to get everybody enter their 30-second information into the chat box. So if you will, what we want to do is open the chat box, put your name, your phone number, your email address, the position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. So if you will do that, we'll get your 30-second information, or what we normally do for a 30-second introduction, and then we will I will post all that information this afternoon when I put out the email. so hopefully you've had time to put in your name, phone number, email address, positions you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. Like I said, I will put all that information out this afternoon in my email, and you'll get all that. So hopefully you can try to help somebody every day. That's the whole key here. Help somebody every day in your job search. All right, it's time for job career fairs training workshops coming up. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning. It's that time again. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Eldon Zorinsky, as you see there on the screen, and I'm in charge of job fairs and special workshops or event announcements. The information that I'm about to share with you comes from, there it is, the calendar page on the website careerdfw.org. I focus on career and job fairs and special workshops. However, the calendar tab has a number of different selections that you can choose from and describes literally everything that's going on throughout the area for weeks and even months on end. This week's career and job fairs, the Dallas Virtual Veterans Job Fair by Recruit Military will be held Thursday, August 27th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's a link in the announcement, there it is, that you can go to and find out more information about that. I do cover these fairly quickly, so if you do hear something that you're interested in, do go to the calendar tab and find out more about it. There is a link on just about every topic. Also this week, Dallas Virtual Job Fair by Champions of Diversity will be held Thursday, August 27th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and there is a link for that. This week's special workshops or events going on even as we speak. The special Third Friday Internet of Things Special Interest Group Breakfast is being held Friday, August 21st. It starts at 7:40 and runs to 9 a.m. So I guess it's not currently going on. I think it'll go on longer. And there's a link for that one. That's a good thing to participate in if you're interested in the Internet of Things. Online only at this time, the Who You Know workshop will be held Monday, August 24th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. There's a Zoom link for that. This meeting is hosted by Foster Williams. And if you don't know Foster, I would strongly urge you to get to know Foster Williams. Online LinkedIn Tuesdays. This is a rotating meeting that's hosted by Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, or Ruth Lipsky. There's a Zoom link for that. And again, that's Tuesday, August 25th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m.
And this week, instead of any one of the 3 of them, you get to listen to me for an hour. So if you want to hear my view on LinkedIn, join us this Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
All right, I'll be sure to bring the popcorn. Online interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. with Mark McDonald and Walt Glass. And if you haven't participated in one of their sessions, I really strongly urge you to do that. That's Wednesday, August 26th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Online Resume Thursday is a special meeting that's hosted by Carol Brickell, a certified professional career coach. Thursday, August 27th from 1 to 2. There's a Zoom link for that on the calendar. And finally, online meeting, Personal Branding with the speaker Don Nebhan, hosted by the St. Andrews Career Care Group. That'll be Thursday, August 27th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And Don's a pretty insightful guy, so if you haven't heard him speak, I'd strongly urge you to attend that one as well. And that's it for this week.
There's also one other one on Wednesday morning from 11 to 12 o'clock. Carol Brickell is doing about secrets of an effective interview. She's doing that for Next Step Recruiting. You have to email them if you'd like to get the login information. But,
okay, Jeff, I just looked at the announcement sheet. I had it on my paper, but it wasn't on there this morning.
Oh, well,
unless
live version. Okay. Well, I think it's still going on. As far as I know, it's still happening. So.
Yeah, that's Wednesday, August 26th from 11 a.m. to noon. And I'm sorry about that because I did look at the calendar just about 2 minutes before we started, and that was gone.
Huh. Okay. Well, this is a live view of the calendar. So, all right. Well, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you very
this
much,
is a real-time activity, so it's kind of hard to keep there. Well, maybe I didn't have my calendar adjusted so I could see it, but I didn't think it was there. My apologies.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Let's see here. What do we have coming up next? Oh, tip of the week. Not tip of the week. For those people, if you're trying to find a networking group or something to do, go to the Career DFW front page. I've added this to make it easy for you to find something, and you can find a networking group holding an online meeting. Here's what they look like. If the calendar, this is everything that's going online this week. So you can find all sorts of events that are happening. Just click on any one of them. You'll find Zoom login information. So, you can just click on whatever you need to find something going on. So there's always something happening. If you know somebody who just lost their job, we saw the numbers came out yesterday, another 1 million people filed for unemployment. So if you know somebody who just lost their job, they're not sure what to do, they seem lost, tell them to click right here. It says, I just lost my job, what do I need to do now? On either the Career USA or Career FW calendar. Up will come a little one-page article with all sorts of great information about filing unemployment, about a checklist of what you should be doing to get yourself going in your job search, and some other great advice of things that you really need to think about when you first get laid off. Mark McDonald, the practice interview team.
Well, hello, good morning, everybody. And I didn't have any landings to announce today, but this week I added up all the landings that we've had during the COVID era that the pit crew is aware of, and some of them were announced here as well. And it was 27, so that's about 5 months worth, a little over 5 per month, which is not a bad number at all. I'd call it pretty steady. Last year was a great year. We had 117 landings last year. So there's reason to be optimistic. It's been pretty steady. People have been landing, so opportunities out there. And I encourage you to come and practice with the Dallas Pit Crew, so when your opportunity arrives, you're prepared. And so the way the Dallas Pit Crew works is I have a team of volunteers who've all been hiring managers, and they're the ones that give the interviews. And they have various backgrounds, really from all different kinds of backgrounds. I just added a new panelist this week who's in IT technology. And you send in a resume and a job description, because the interviews that the pit crew gives are very personalized and customized to your situation. So based on that job description, which you select, it may be your dream job off of LinkedIn or one of the job boards, or it may be an opportunity that you're engaged with a recruiter in. And your resume, we'll put together a practice interview for you and take you through your paces and give you a chance to answer some tough questions, like tell me about the time that you failed, or you made a big mistake, or what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. So we try to, give you a chance to answer questions that people struggle with. And through that kind of practice, you won't ever struggle with it in an interview. And that brings up the other point, is you can come and practice as many times as you like. The more you practice, the better you get at it, frankly. And interviews, especially panel interviews, can be very stressful, and we want you to be polished and confident. There's nothing that's going to throw you in the interview situation. So send in that information when you're ready. Just send it to me, dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and it takes 2 to 3 days to set up an interview. So give me your availability as well for +2 and +3 days. That would be the time of the day that you're available, because we'll try to, meet you whenever you are available, and with a group of panelists, and give you a nice practice interview. So one other thing, Jeff, next slide there. So when the pit crew used to be face-to-face, the last 15 or 20 minutes was an education, a learning session. We talked about interviewing. Now that's much more formalized thanks to Jeff's technology wizardry. And so we have a webinar every Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and Walt Glass and I present on different interview topics. There's 13 different interview topics. Who could believe interviewing was that complicated? But it is. And this week it's video interviewing coming up on Wednesday, and then after that we'll be analyzing the job description. All the sessions are available on Jeff's YouTube channel, Career USA YouTube channel, and we're going through the cycle for the second time here. This week with video interviewing, it's the Walt Glass Show. He has a great presentation on video interviewing. So if you can make it, 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Walt.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Walt Glass, and I enjoy helping people build skills and confidence for successful hiring interviews. Now, I heartily support the pit crew. I think that's a great opportunity for us to learn and practice. I offer something a little different than that, and it's called the Interview Success Workshop. this is a workshop and it is also an interview. When I ask people, would you like to practice? And they say, well, I'm not prepared. And I'll say, well, what are you doing to get prepared? And there's this long pause. So the workshop is based upon fundamentals and how you can start preparing yourself for an interview. How can you differentiate yourself from those other candidates? And we're selling ourselves, defined as who we are, what we do, and how we help. So how do we sell those three things in an interview? So it's fundamentals the first time you come. Yes, you get an interview. Yes, you get a video of your interview so you can see yourself, but it is a workshop. You can take a long time to think of an answer. You can start over. We can do things just to help us improve. Start wherever you are and how we can move from that position to get better. You're not graded. You're not judged. It's just ideas and opinions and suggestions so that we can do a better job of representing those three legs of that stool that I mentioned. It's free. You have to be registered to attend. In the chat window earlier, I'll put in some information, but that Yahoo address that you see on the screen is where you send an email to say, I'd like to register for the workshop. I need your phone number and email address, all I need. And I will give you some availability and we'll get you scheduled. It will be on a Zoom video, of course. So we're doing it just like everybody else is. We may as well practice it. That's where we're interviewing anyway. So look me up on LinkedIn, get some more information about it, send me an email. I'll be glad to have you come and join us and have some fun along the way. Does interviewing cause ill at ease, maybe even knocking of your knees? Well, practice will make it a breeze. Would you register if I said, please?
Thank you very, very much. We have to have our poetry every Friday. So is this poem number what, 88?
Let me see. The answer to that question is 84.
84. All right. We're going to have a book out. When it hits number 100, we'll start publishing a book.
Right. All I have to do is charge $4,000 a piece to make any money.
All right. Thank you very much, Walt. All right. Time for the career tip of the week. Sue Ellen, good morning.
Good morning. Today's tip of the week is by Laura Butler. Having worked in multiple startups over the years, she has experienced a lot of building businesses from the ground up. She enjoys writing content on a variety of topics from business strategy, sustainability to marketing. But today she's writing about what skills will really boost your employability. With the employment environment constantly changing, we are likely to see the emergence of new professions as well as the disappearance of many outdated ones within the following decade. The so-called growth mindset has become a prerequisite for all of us, rather than something only relevant for top performers. Shooting for the moon seems to be the only option as uncertainty becomes the only certain thing about the future labor market in many industries. Let's analyze the skills that will boost your employability in 2020. First, soft skills. If your professionalism has reached the point above the industry average, then emotional intelligence and soft skills become a must for your future advancement. The most basic one of them is networking, or the capability to build networks of trusted contacts, allowing you to realize major projects, find new orders, or pursue professional development goals. Team building and communication skills are equally beneficial for both regular employees and managers having to improve the performance and cohesion within their subordinate units. Finally, cross-cultural awareness is becoming critical for modern companies operating across multiple time zones and relying on teams including remote workers from all over the world. Next, learning and team building skills. This title is used by many professional coaches to designate the skills that are highly useful for multiple areas of your professional operations. Learning capabilities may be a good example of this category, since most well-paid professions are rapidly developing and require frequent rehashing of what we already know. These include communicating, creative thinking, critical thinking, and collaborating elements. They are responsible for the capability to acquire and structure new information, use creativity, and communicate ideas within established media to facilitate the learning of others. Being able to learn new skills, delegate important tasks, and brainstorm the developed concepts is critical for almost any profession of your choice. You also have to be able to teach and coordinate others if you want to use the powerful leverage of a well-built team to reach your professional goals faster. Next is personal branding skills. In the modern world, people need to be aware of your achievements in order to employ your services or promote your career. Maintaining your online portfolio is a must for freelancers surviving in a gig economy, but is equally critical for fully employed professionals in the highly turbulent labor market. It is preferable to maintain your own website to be independent of any technical problems of third-party platforms. Another good option is writing articles for professional blogs, moderating professional forums, or engaging in online discussions related to your sphere of competence. If you are well known for your expertise and regularly receive job offers from multiple sources, your employment stability is securely protected. Next, basic HTML and coding skills. Let's face it, almost everyone can learn how to make a basic website after 3 months of training. There is no way around developing these skills, whether you want to develop a personal blog, become more versatile as a freelance designer, or simply ensure that you always have alternate career paths. This also ties in with the complex problem-solving requirement posed by multiple employers, since being aware of the functional elements of modern projects allows you to better understand their technical limitations and the best way to manage them. Next, look at hard and soft digital skills. The development of big data solutions is expected to fully change the way decisions are made in most industries within the following several years. A modern manager, marketer, or software developer cannot accurately predict future trends and customer needs without exploring the vast arrays of information that cannot be processed by a single person anymore. If you belong to one of these professions, you may want to start exploring the current trends and popular solutions in cloud computing and data analytics right now to start building your awareness and competence. And then there's always time management. While it may not be blatantly obvious for most full-time employees yet, corporations are starting to use more and more freelance workforce from multiple time zones to address demand fluctuations and allocate workloads more effectively. Many talented professionals may become freelancers with multiple employers and a complex schedule of intermediary submissions, project coordination milestones, and conference calls at 4 a.m. Time management is another meta skill allowing you to manage your work-life balance and ensure that you can reasonably squeeze in more tasks within a limited time frame. Finally, leadership skills. Last but not least, your development as a professional may be hindered by the need to build a qualified team of subordinate specialists or organize your own company to realize your strategic vision. In all these cases, you will have to understand complex personal motivations, find ways to increase staff engagement, and effectively delegate some tasks. While leadership skills may be highly complex to develop, they can open new horizons for your personal growth. A recent study identified that up to 120 million workers will require retraining or career adjustments in the nearest future due to the emergence of modern technologies, automation, and AI development. And I would add, the changes we've identified with all that the COVID pandemic has brought into our lives. Since no one can predict how these disruptions will change various industries, your best course is to become self-guided in your personal development. Make sure that you allocate sufficient time to build your own personal brand and spend at least 1 hour on a daily basis developing alternative skills and soft skills. You can also use popular free business resources for entrepreneurs or career-driven individuals to assist you in remedying knowledge deficiencies in your areas of choice. Keep in mind that the occurring changes may be both a burden and a window of opportunity, since new challenges can only be faced by a minor share of specialists with good foresight. Hence, investing time and resources in the development of such competencies can make you a highly demanded professional in your sphere of competence in just several years. So good luck.
Sue Ellen, thank you very, very much. All right, so coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to hear from our speaker about headshots. Coming up next week, the job search scorecard. This is an interesting project that was put together probably 10 or 12 years ago. A gentleman who was part of the North Dallas Focus Group. He's since moved out to the Seattle area, but he'll join us next Friday and share with you a program that he put together to sort of keep track of, am I doing enough to really be effective in my job search? And he assigned points to every different type of task that he found in a job search. So this will just be, he'll share sort of what he put together and how he used it during his job search. And then in 2 weeks, open forum. And I heard about this program from Patty, I don't know if Patty's even online, I haven't looked to see, but about Crystal Knows. Oh, there she is. Okay, so a very interesting little program called crystalknows.com. She's going to give us a little presentation on how it works. She found it to be sort of very interesting and effective in what she does. And she ran the report on me, and it was pretty amazing. I gave it a B or B plus without even knowing who I am, but it just looked at my LinkedIn profile and sort of said, this is what kind of person Jeff is. So I agree with many of the things on it. There's a couple things I disagree with, but it'll be a very interesting presentation in a couple weeks. So please join us. And Patty, thank you for putting that together. All right, just a little reminder, the careerdfw.org and the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group are two separate organizations. The only common thread is that I happen to lead both of them. You're welcome to overthrow me here at the North Dallas Group, and you can take over putting the meetings together and coordinating all this stuff, but you're not going to get Career DFW and Career USA out of my hands. So I just needed to say that, especially for those people who are watching on Facebook right now. You know, this is not the Friday group of Career DFW. Okay, so it's time for our speakers, time for the main event. Our presenter this morning is Paula Asanoff. She's a principal consultant and founder of Yellow Brick Path, a career management coaching and consulting firm. Over the years, Paula has been presented to our groups, always with fresh and important information. This morning, she's going to share with you her latest passion, headshots, a critically important yet often overlooked element for managing your career and conducting a job search. She gave this presentation to us last year and look forward to hearing it again. I got rave reviews. I wasn't at the meeting last year, but people gave me really good feedback after. So we will have question and answers at the very end. So please be sure to enter your questions into the chat or put them in the comment box on Facebook, and I will moderate those and we'll get those questions asked at the very end. So with that, Paula, thank you for being with us. Please take it away.
Okay, Jeff, now we're going to try and make this technology work.
It's a challenge every week.
Okay, everybody, bear with me. I'm still a bit of a Zoom newbie. Okay, are we there?
We're there. Very good.
Okay, and you can hear me and you can see the presentation and all of that. Well, I'm excited to be back with y'all this morning. This is a great group. Jeff has done such a phenomenal job in what he's pulled together here. And I've been a big fan of his and of your group for a long time. This morning, we're going to be talking about headshots. And there's a lot of substantive information in here. Jeff will give you the links to this afterwards. So, you know, you don't have to scramble for notes if you don't want to. And hopefully you'll even get some laughs out of this. But I really think that this is a new and really overlooked area for people in their job search. And by the way, I would like to give a shout out to, you know, a couple of your guys. The pictures, the actual professional headshots for Walt and Mark look really good. So they seem to be right on track with where they need to be. Okay. So we're going to talk about this morning really making your headshot help you to get a great first and lasting impression. And as Jeff mentioned, I'm your presenter this morning. I am the principal and founding partner of Yellow Brick Path. We're a career management and coaching firm. And one of the important areas of my work is professional branding. I've authored 3 books on career topics. One of them is Be Sharp, Tell Me About Yourself in Great Introductions and Professional Bios. And I know that, that Jeff is also a fan of that and has apparently talked about it. We recently published the 2nd edition of that book. It's available on Amazon, both in paperback and in Kindle formats. As far as the Cliff Notes on my own career path, I'm a graduate of the Wharton MBA program, and my roles have really spanned everything from finance, IT leadership, executive search, and now my own firm. Okay, this is one of my absolutely most favorite headshots. And as you can see up here, your headshot mirrors your brand. And it's becoming increasingly important in having competitive, you know, being competitive in your career and in looking for jobs. It really mirrors your brand. And as you'll see on here, I've said, ouch, a picture is worth 1,000 words. What I want to tell you about this is the person in that picture is a software expert with an MBA from a top school who was nominated for a prestigious award. This is the bio this is the picture that he posted on his bio when he was asked to submit his information for members of that organization to vote on who should actually get the award. So I'd like to read to you what one of his colleagues said. I was glad to vote for you. However, I'm sure you lost lots of votes because of the picture. You look drunk, Neanderthal-jawed, and addle-brained. The flowered Hawaiian shirt might have passed if you had looked intelligent in it, or even if you were just on vacation. But the picture was a really bad choice since you were up against people with PhDs. Okay, now what I can suggest to you is that not everyone will be so forthright in their opinion, but you can be sure that she's not the only person that thought that. This is one that probably resonates with everybody in the audience here, which has to do with the congruity of your personal brand and how you will also show up in other places in the public universe, especially on social media. So as you can see from this cartoon, which is one of my favorites, it says, according to your LinkedIn profile, you're a focused, disciplined achiever. According to your Facebook photos, you love Jack Daniels and are pretty comfortable with your body. So one thing you want to be careful about is that you want to be sure that your headshot, and frankly, any other photos that you have of yourself that are available to the public, don't undermine your brand and hopefully enhance it. I think this cartoon makes that point just beautifully. So then the question is, tell me about yourself. So what does your picture communicate in that process? So there's an interesting way to start to think about this. The first is to go in and access, not right this minute, but when you get back to your desk later this afternoon, go to your LinkedIn profile and take a good look at your headshot. Pretend that you don't know that person, and then ask yourself the following questions. What kind of work does this person do? What level is this person at in their organization? Is this the first impression that this person would want the world to have of them? Hopefully, you'll get good answers to all the questions, but more frequently, people say, oops, better pay some attention here. Now, it's also fun to do this with other people. You can literally go in and pick up any random profile on LinkedIn. Look at the picture, don't look at their titles, don't look at their companies, just look at the picture and ask those same 3 questions. And you will start to get some insights about how important that picture is and what you may need to do about your own. Okay, you're going to see in this presentation lots and lots of headshots so that you can look and see what actually looks good. The most important point here is that headshots matter. People make decisions based on how you look. And at the end of the day, a great headshot is going to capture your energy and professionalism and engages your audience. Really important to remember with this is that if you don't match what people expect, it can undermine your credibility, diminish your appeal, and most importantly, create a lot of noise in the communication channel. In addition, even though pictures shouldn't be on resumes, and that's a government regulatory compliance issue, they should be in lots of other places, and they truly need to be done right. This, I think, is an interesting concept that I came across a few months ago, which is that your professional headshot, in a sense, is becoming the new selfie. Again, your photo represents your personal brand, and it doesn't have to be, just totally dry. You don't need to look like an IRS agent or a government auditor. It definitely needs to reflect your personality and your style, and is something you feel proud to showcase. We have moved much more over the past few years to allowing people to be more fashion forward in how they present themselves, and also being more business casual. So you'll have to make a decision about who you're talking to, who your audience is, in terms of how fashion forward you want to be, how formal or informal you want to be. And most of the executives that I work with actually have two headshots. For the men, we call it 1 suit and tie, 1 jacket open collar. And for women, we don't really have as good terminology for it, but it is a more, formal look, and the other is a more high-end business casual look. Another important point about this, in today's high-tech recruiting environment, your LinkedIn profile, which has your headshot on it, often serve as your first interview. And the right headshot there communicates immediately that you should be taken seriously as a professional or a business person. It's also been proven over and over again. There's been a million studies that show that having a picture on your LinkedIn or other social media profiles can dramatically increase traffic. Okay, So here's the new thing that I read, and this came from a photographer in Ohio, I believe, who is a millennial and actually has a photography business. And what she said was, millennials are already in tune with capturing the best photographic version of themselves to share with the world. That's your selfie. And hopefully they will bring this passion to their personal branding efforts. And this photographer really coined the phrase, the new selfies. Again, to sum it all up, a great headshot reflects your personality and style and is something that you will feel proud to showcase. So, you think you need a new headshot? What you're going to want to do is to check out our checklist. And at the end, Jeff's going to show you where to go to get this, but I'm going to go through that checklist with you right now. When I go through this, if you've checked even one, you probably need to consider replacing your headshot. So first, is your image sharp and well lit? Is the background free from clutter? Is it a headshot, not a full body shot? And is it taken only of you, not with your friends, dogs, pets, backyard, barbecue, wedding thing, whatever? Do the colors of your attire complement each other and your skin and your hair? Does your headshot accurately represent who you are today? Is it more than 5 years old? Have you changed your hair color or style? Have you stopped or started wearing glasses? Have you gained or lost weight? So I'm going to take a little segue and tell you a funny story when we were putting together this presentation. The picture of me that you saw on the first slide of this presentation is the headshot that I have used for the last few years. And a couple of weeks ago, I got up one morning and said, oops, I don't really look like that anymore. And so I did have another picture that was taken about a year ago that looks much more like what I look like today, which is the one that Jeff slotted into his presentation. And he had originally picked up the old one off of the old LinkedIn, which I just changed out like 2 days ago. But again, it's that whole issue of making sure that the person that you've met, the person you're going to see, the person that you are, is also the person that's reflected in your headshot, that's reflected in social media, that's reflected on your bio, so that you really have congruency between all of the information that's out there for you in the real world. Okay, another question to check. Are you still working in the same industry? And if you've switched industries, is it a more formal or less formal environment? And then, are you proud of your image? And does it make you feel good? And finally, you can ask yourself, would you do business with the person in your image? And again, if even one applies, you probably do need a new headshot. This particular checklist was put together by the photographer that we use here in Dallas, which is Leanne Baker of labphotography.com. Okay, so based on everything we've covered up till now, clearly you want to put your best foot forward. And we do say that a professional photographer is usually worth the investment. You know, of course, if you have someone in your family who is a high-end amateur that knows how to do headshots, or, you know, you have a friend or you have a facility within your company that can do it, certainly don't spend money. But otherwise, this is not your selfie at your computer. So I'd like to share with you some guidelines about how to choose a good photographer. First, they should be familiar with photographing professionals and business people. This is not the photographer that does the family portrait for your Christmas cards. They should be open to listening to the guidelines that you want adhered to. And it will be best if it's taken in a studio environment. The photographer should take multiple shots and give you a choice. Once you've made your choice, they should fully retouch the image and share it with you in a JPEG of 1 to 2 megabytes. You need to have resolution in this photograph in order to make it show up well. And they should provide you with a right to use license. Not all of those Christmas card folks do that because they actually make their money off the Christmas cards and not off the headshot. So they don't actually give you the right to use it. Every time you want to print it or do something with it, you have to come back to them. and pay for them to produce the Christmas card, the office pictures, or whatever. You should receive both a standard 5x7, and then you should also receive one that has been cropped to 5x5 or square that you're going to want to use on LinkedIn or on your business cards. And finally, I believe that the photographer should provide a no-cost retake guarantee. And of course, last but not least, it should be something that fits your budget. There is no point in over-investing something and then eating macaroni and cheese for the next 3 months. You will be able to find somebody within your budget that can help you. So, what are the keys to a great headshot? We want to talk about what to do and what to avoid. So you can look at mine, you can look at Walt's, you can look at Mark's, you can look at all the ones that show up on this presentation and begin to get some, some sense of what this is all about and to get smarter and more intelligent about what makes a good headshot. So there are 5 things that really top the list. Number 1, the headshot should have a head ratio of about 50 to 60% to the rest of the picture. This is a headshot. I'm really not that interested in what happens between your waist and your shoulders. And you're trying to engage somebody. And so you engage them with your smile, with your eyes, with your face. Again, not with the buttons on a jacket or a shirt. Okay. If you are going from a 5x7 to a square, normally this is achieved by just cropping the bottom of the picture closer to your shoulders. And that, again, as I said, is the preferred version for LinkedIn or your business cards. Second, your head should be straight up and down and facing forward. Tilt, unfortunately, is a very often used pose that the photographers like. For whatever reason, they like it. Unfortunately, the problem with tilt is that it makes you appear subordinate and you want a place at the table. Okay, let me see if I can do this for you. Okay, I just tilted my head. I don't know if any of you are actually seeing me anywhere on your screen, but that becomes more subordinate. And the more it's tilted, the more subordinate it gets. And I'm later on going to have an example of the same person with both poses, and you'll be able to see this really clearly. But you want to be seen as somebody with the right to a seat at the table. Third, you want your shoulders slightly turned. It softens the picture and makes you more engaging. If you are straight forward, it looks like a mugshot. And it's not particularly engaging. And again, I'll have some examples of this later. Fourth, both, as I mentioned, both the formal and less formal headshots are appropriate for professionals as long as you are matching to your audience. And a good way to think about this is to ask yourself, what would I wear to an interview? If you would wear a suit to an interview, then you should be in a suit for your headshot. If you work, for example, in a Silicon Valley high-tech company and nobody's worn a suit there for the last millennial, and you put a suit into your headshot, you'll get a lot of chuckles and probably not much serious consideration. And so for those folks, we almost always go for men, jacket, open collar, for women, something more on the high-end business casual range. Finally, retouching is essential. And again, I'll have a good example of this to show you. It eliminates glare, it smooths out skin tone, and really does help you put your best face forward. Finally, there are a couple of poses that you want to avoid. One is the hand under chin look. That is particularly fit. Yeah, that's the one, Jeff. And this is even if you were a woman, and I'm going to make the point even more clearly, that is a favored pose for engagement pictures designed to show off an engagement ring. Okay. Some other ones that you want to be careful about are extreme lead-in. extreme lean in. And again, I don't know how many of you are seeing me, but it's this look. You really don't want to be there. Also, even though we're going for headshots, if you do end up, on your 5x7 with more of your body, you really don't want to picture with your hands in your pockets. And at any level, you don't want to picture with your hands, with your arms crossed or your hands folded or whatever. Despite the fact that people have been talking about how the traditional body language doesn't always apply. If you've crossed your arms, you may in fact just be cold. But the reality of it is, from a photographic standpoint, what it does is provide a more closed and less open communication. Okay, so let's talk again about social media further. Your personal brand on social media, again, you need to look good. I'm probably beating this horse to death by now, but it is really important to look good on LinkedIn when people look you up. The wrong headshot can undermine your brand. And if you think back to the cartoon that I put up before, that's a perfect example. It's interesting the amount of time that people spend getting their profile right and how little time they spend getting their headshot right. They also forget that everything that's out there in the social media space can in fact be found and seen. Okay, in the social media space, LinkedIn, and Jeff may have some comments on this later, but I still believe that LinkedIn, if not the only game in town, is the primary game in town. It is a business site. It's not a social site like Facebook or Instagram, which by the way is now owned by Facebook, or Match.com. You truly need to look good when people look you up, and the wrong headshot can seriously undermine your brand. So, for example, here are some of the things that you wouldn't want on your LinkedIn or other business profile. You want to replace selfies, vacation photos, and event photos. Skip photos with other people or pets. Don't use photos in your living room or your backyard. Steer clear of photos in which you are inappropriately attired for a business environment. Don't use icons, caricatures, or logos as a replacement for your headshot. And avoid using low resolution headshots that are going to turn out looking fuzzy when somebody looks them up. So now, again, you can look for our workshop. Jeff will give you the information on that. So here we are on LinkedIn. This is what I call the downright awful. These are all business professionals that I randomly selected from LinkedIn. Okay, so we've got the golfer on vacation. That might be okay if you're looking for a job in a golf resort or maybe a golf club store. But other than that, it doesn't do anything for you professionally. The next one is really interesting. This woman, I believe, was a professional resume writer. It is an absolutely gorgeous photograph for a model. But this is not the person that I'm going to call up to write my resume. I might call them up to write my modeling one-pager, but not resume. This is an art shot, and you are trying to connect with people the way you want them to see you for business. Okay, the next one obviously is just an icon. Okay, and then we've got the mug shot taken against somebody's wall, low resolution, eyes down, not smiling. This really looks like it might have been taken in a police station. Okay, the next one is a selfie in a car with sunglasses, so you can't see the person's expression. The lighting is terrible. The clothing is below business casual. And so the only thing that I can think about that headshot is that maybe it's the person, when you ask the question, what does this person do for a living? I don't know, maybe this is the person that goes out to a farm to inspect the corn crop for, the Department of Agriculture. But even with that, I would have lost I would have done it in a better setting and lost the sunglasses. Okay, Attire. That woman is not a model or a yoga instructor. It turns out that she is a sales representative for a very well-known company. I'm not buying anything from her except maybe a date on Friday night. Next one, my company logo. I'm buying you, not your company. Okay, here's one, very casual, but the issue on the next one over is that it was obviously a very old and faded photograph. You know, on vacation, looks like on a boat, maybe on a lake, you know, not really sitting very professionally, too much body, not enough face. There's hardly anything that's really good about that one. Okay, then you get to the next two. In the next one, we don't know who the profile is of, the man or the woman. And the, honey, I can't wait till our wedding. Look of this photograph. Just again, it isn't what you want for your professional view. And then finally, you have a family picture. And again, that might be, you know, really appropriate for something that is family oriented, but not for job search. So hopefully you've had some fun with those. Okay, now we have some examples. We're going to move on from the downright awful to what I call the not so good. Okay, so the first one is retouching. And I'd like you to look at the difference between the before and after on a retouched photograph. You can see you're not trying to turn somebody into a China doll. You're trying to make them look like themselves, just minus some of the things that don't need to be there, like the glare on the glasses, the glare on their forehead, reducing a little, you know, cleaning up skin tone a little bit. And look at the incredible difference that that makes in terms of how you react to that person. Okay, now I'm going to tell you that every photograph that I have, or every photograph that my photographer has taken, is not 100% absolutely perfect. The one on the right is a really good headshot. That's the 5x7, and again, we would crop it up to a square for LinkedIn. But you know, if we wanted to get to that last 5% on this one, and this actually can be done within LinkedIn, you get to straighten a photo. Can you see that the head is just a little bit tilted to the right or left, depending on how you're looking at this, but it's tilted just a little bit and it needs to be straightened up. And the amount that it needs to be straightened is so small that this could actually be straightened on the LinkedIn editor with no problem at all and not distorting the rest of the picture. Okay, here's the famous head tilt. This woman, at the time this picture was done, was the CEO of a kind of mid-sized company. If you look at the one on the right, that is an absolutely 100% perfect pose. Head and eyes straight ahead. I guess maybe you could move it, you know, you could have moved her head a millimeter, but you can't get it that perfect. Shoulders turned, smile, eyes, right proportion. This is the square, everything. Now, exact same person, head tilt. That is no longer the CEO of a company. That is the executive assistant to the CEO of the company. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with being executive assistant, but the point that I'm making here is that the CEO has been transformed into someone who plays more of a support role rather than an executive leadership role. So I generally like it for everybody, no matter what role you're in. You know, whether you're in a support role or whether you are in an executive leadership role, I still think that you need to come to the table with a powerful presence. And again, no disrespect at all is meant to people who are in support roles, because they are extraordinarily valuable to organizations. But I do think that what it does is put somebody into the tilt, put you into more of a support role and less of a contributor in your own right. And again, you know, I guess I can't say it too many times. I believe that these principles apply to people in every role, whether you're in a leadership role or a support role or whatever, and you simply don't want to put anything in the communication channel where you show up as less important or less valuable than you are to the organization. Okay, here's another not so good. Here's our mugshot. Same guy. On the right, with his shoulders slightly turned. On the left, it's a mugshot. Okay. In my opinion, the shoulders turned makes this person much more engaging, much more open, much more energetic, the things that you would want from somebody who you are hiring to be in an important role in your organization. Okay, another one that sometimes shows up is black and white. Okay, and black and white is usually an art shot. So black and white has its place, but once again, the color adds energy, engagement, enthusiasm. And I guess when you look at this, what you're seeing is multiple iterations over the years of me. But again, I don't think the black and white really does people justice in engaging with their audience. So here are some samples of ones that I think are really good. And you can see, most of these, we're going to talk about backgrounds in a second. 4 out of 5 of these are done with what's called a gradient gray background, which means it's a little lighter by your head. The one in the on the upper left with the woman with the blue jacket is done on a plain gray background, which also works. But all of these, are good. You absolutely could pick every one of these apart for the last, 5% things, but nobody just ever gets a 100 positively perfect. You want to be up there just in that 90% range, of getting it right. So some general guidelines. And what I mentioned before, for your headshot, wear what you would wear to an interview, whether it's a corporate look or business casual. Fashion forward is okay, depending on your industry and level, but not a casual or event look. A touch of color is going to provide some energy to the picture. And in this case, it's nothing more than this woman's lipstick. She's got on a nice formal black and white, which is appropriate for the industry that she's in, but that color just adds. So it doesn't have to be, 6 pounds of jewelry or a Christmas tie or whatever, but it just needs to be something, again, that sparks some energy into the picture. The other thing we're going to talk about in a minute is fade out backgrounds, which are very popular with photographers, and I have mixed feelings about them, but they're okay. So here's your backgrounds. The plain gray is on the left, and it's fine. Depending on where you have your headshot taken, it may not be a place that offers you any kind of specialty background, and in that case, just the plain gray is fine. The one on the right is what's called a fade out background. And like I said, they've gotten very popular and people like them. There's nothing wrong with them. The issue here is just take a look at it and make sure the background is not competing with you. You want people to see you. And if it's a fade out background, also make sure that it's appropriate to who you are. Again, unless you work in the sports industry, for example, you don't want a football stadium in the background. You want something that's, that's a city skyline, which is appropriate for what I do. A desk shot might be appropriate, those kinds of things. But again, make sure it's appropriate and make sure it doesn't compete. By the way, this issue of non-competition also applies to your banner on LinkedIn. You want to make sure that whatever you have on your banner is appropriate. We don't want any incongruity here. And secondly, that the background you have does not compete with you. Okay, finally in the middle is the gradient gray, which is my current favorite. And what that does is, again, it just, if you look at the gradient gray in the center compared with the plain gray on the left, what you'll see is it lightens up my whole face and makes it more engaging. Okay, so here's a couple of examples of formal versus informal. You know, who is the audience? More formal, less formal? More formal, less formal? And actually, I'm going to take a short segue for a moment while I have this one up, and because this will probably preempt 7 questions that are sitting in chat right now, which is, what about facial hair? Okay, I'm an oldie, and I go back to the days, I can honestly say that 10 years ago, what we were telling men with facial hair was that it doesn't play well in a corporate interviews environment, you know, unless you are completely married to it. You know, you've had it since you were 18 and have never shaved it since then, and you're never giving it up, and it's your identity. Go home, shave it off, get a job, grow it back. 10 years ago, that was the conventional advice. Okay, over the years, that has modified to the point where well-groomed facial hair, if it looks good on you and it's nice and well kept, is appropriate for most business environments. So hence, go for it. If you find you're having trouble with it, then shave it off, grow it back. But these days, especially the younger you get, it's less and less and less of an issue. Okay, so again, we've got, okay, now here's one where on the informal side, again, you can look at just, you've got just a tiny little bit of head tilt versus on the right versus the one on the left. Let me go back here. If nothing else, by the end of this, hopefully you will have looked at enough pictures so that you start to get sensitive to the subtleties that maybe you didn't think about before. Also, this one is good because if you look on the jacket open collar one, you'll notice that there's not a lot of wrinkling, actually in either of these. There is not a lot of wrinkling around the shirt. You want to make sure that your collar sits straight, that your shirt sits straight, that it fits well, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, business cards. If you are, if you are doing a personal business card, my general recommendation for people is that what you want to do is put your picture on your card. And here's the same, more or less the same card. I guess take it back. It looks like it is the same card. Okay. One of them with a picture, one without a picture. What is the memorability factor for the card that has the picture? Remember, if you're someplace where I mean, we're not doing much in person these days, but someday we might. Or you might be sending out your business card electronically. The more people are engaging with you, the more people have a real person to remember, I believe the more memorable you get. Now, one other thing to pay attention to on when you put things on business cards and also on LinkedIn and also on bios is that you want your headshot facing into the document. So you'll notice if you can envision taking the picture from the one on the right and putting it on the one on the left, you'll notice that what happens is that I'm now looking off the document, off into space. And that's just not good design, and it's definitely not engaging. You want to bring the person's viewpoint into the document where the information is. So you want to be facing into the document. So you can either flip your text, which is what I did here, or there's a feature where you can flip the picture. But regardless, On all of those venues, you want to make sure that you are facing into the document and not out into la la land. And by the way, the picture can go in any corner of the business card where it fits. You know, upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, wherever it fits best. It doesn't matter. There's no God-given rule about that. Now, a recent invention of the social media age are these internet photo testing tools. They are popular and they're fun, and you may have played with them. That's the one where you go in and you put your headshot in, and then presumably multiple thousands of well-vetted people cast votes on what characteristics you're portraying. Are you smart? Are you decisive? Are you competitive? You know, are you approachable? All those kinds of things. According to the guys that do these sites and that advertise them, the people that are commenting on your picture have been, by using some AI capabilities, have been carefully vetted by age and gender and some other things to make sure the right people are commenting on this. So my sense of this is that it's fun. Can't hurt to have some fun with this. It is advertised as being okay for business as well as social and dating. My takeaway from this is that it is more entertainment than serious business. And the reason for this has to do with what we know about feedback. Anytime you get feedback, it requires follow-up discussion and maybe analysis. Some feedback is good, some feedback is bad, some is helpful, some is useless, but no feedback is the truth. It is only data for further consideration. Just because somebody says something doesn't make it so. So there would be no reason not to do this and then do some follow-up with people and drill down and say, well, why do you think it made me look more decisive? Why do you think it made me look more, you know, this or that, you know, a better leader, whatever it comes up with. But you don't know that without exploring. The second thing is the semantics of language. So let's say a whole bunch of people come up and say that your headshot makes you look intelligent. Pretty cool. Okay, so what does intelligent mean? You know, does it mean that you're a Harvard PhD? Does it mean you have street smarts? Does it mean that you're a quick learner? Does it mean that you're a thoughtful decision maker? Does it mean, you know, what does intelligence mean? And there's no definition on these sites. It's just, ooh, 10,000 people said she looks intelligent. And you got to really be careful about making semantic assumptions. You really have to know more about what it means. Now, you could get that by taking that information and then talking to some of your friends about it to see if they agree, and if they do, what it really means. So if you're going to use it as a game, go for it. It's great. But be careful about using it, you know, as good vetted information for business purposes. Okay, we've said it before, we'll say it again. Keys to a great headshot. It cannot be said too many times. A great headshot captures the energy and professionalism of the subject and engages the audience. So now, how about actually, now that you've learned all of this, how about actually evaluating your headshot? And the fundamental question that you want to be clear about is, what impression are you trying to project, and does your headshot actually do it for you? So here are some questions that you can ask now that you're, you know, way smarter than you were a half hour ago to determine whether this headshot will serve you well. First of all, does it reflect my professional best? And again, specifically how? Is it appropriate for my audience? And who is that audience? Is it congruent with the rest of my personal brand? In what way? Do I feel good about myself when I look at this picture? Specifically, how do I feel? Is it engaging? In what ways? Do I come across as comfortable and authentic? And how do I know? Now, another thing that could be fun to do is to reword those questions slightly and try it out with some of your friends on theirs, so that you're exchanging feedback as you answer the questions or get feedback from them about yours. Okay, so what are the takeaways for personal branding on this? Some of these points are, again, go look at the tip sheet. And then obviously the end result is take whatever actions are necessary to get your headshot where you want it. So let's summarize, why headshots matter and the guidelines for a good one. So here's the summary of what we've said today. A good picture is worth 1,000 words and represents your personal brand. Your headshot influences the judgments that people make about you and affects the congruency of your personal brand. Your headshot is often the first and long-lasting impression that you make. And in today's high-tech environment, your headshot and social profile media often serve as your first interview. So you want to get a new one if yours is out of date or poor quality or doesn't reflect well on you. And in most cases, you'll want to use a professional photographer to do that. The key characteristics of a good headshot: 50% head to body ratio, head front and straight, formal or informal attire as it's appropriate, engaging, a simple background, gray, gradient gray or fade out, high resolution, retouched, and avoid folded crossed arms, extreme lead in, or hand under the chin. So now enjoy the journey as you get your new headshot or do something with your old one and use it to deliver your pitch in your job search. Thank you.
Great, Paula, thank you very, very much. We had a couple questions come in. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. But one question was, is the only acceptable format JPEG, or are there other formats acceptable like PNG for a headshot?
Okay, I am not super techie. It's kind of like asking about Microsoft Word. Is there any other format that's acceptable? So the answer is PNG, yes. But generally speaking, the world runs on JPEG. Jeff, is that your impression as well?
Probably. I mean, PNG is becoming more acceptable. I see that more in web design, and people are, there's, I guess, a couple more things you can do with a PNG file that you can't do with a JPEG file, but those are the two main ones.
Right. So again, it's kind of, where is your world running? And most of it is running on JPEG, and most of it, as far as the JPEG is concerned, an awful lot of what you're using this for, obviously some of it is for websites, some of it is for your, and I don't know, I'm not a LinkedIn expert. Will LinkedIn take a PNG?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so it'll take either of them, in which case either one is fine. A lot of the time, this is going to be on the document version of something. You may not be printing it out, but you may be uploading it, or, or something like that, in which case the JPEG is probably going to work better, a little easier to work with, more people are familiar with it.
Right. The other question is, do you have to have a banner? So I guess she's talking about, I guess this person's talking about
On LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yes.
Okay, the banner on LinkedIn is the part that's right at the top of your profile. And LinkedIn provides a default banner. It's that kind of turquoisey blue one with the little dots connected by white lines. And that's the default. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's totally appropriate for business if you don't want to mess with it. Then the question becomes, do you want to use that as an opportunity to present yourself in a more interesting way? So there's nothing wrong with staying with the default. But if you do decide to use it to enhance your personal brand, you want to make sure that you follow some good guidelines so that you don't, again, mess up the communication that your profile is providing with, this beautiful profile you have. one example, there are a couple of examples from real clients that come to mind on this. One client that I had about a year ago was actually the CIO of a fairly sizable organization. And when I went into her LinkedIn profile, the banner was a picture of a beef farm, cows. And I said, I don't get it. What's the gig here? And she said, oh, well, we have a ranch in Oklahoma, and that's a picture from our ranch. And I said, well, in your next job, are you interested in agriculture? Are you interested in beef production? Are you going to go and work for a company that's in the food supply chain somewhere? No, she said, no, it's just our ranch in Oklahoma. And I said, good, consider changing it, at least as long as you're looking for a job. You're a CIO. Put some technology, put just a plain design back there, put some technology back there, put something that's kind of forward looking back there. Maybe it's a little high tech, but do something. But cows aren't going to cut it, for the CIO of a regular company. Okay, another one that was interesting was a younger person who was about to graduate from undergraduate from the business school of a pretty big university, and was looking for a job as a financial analyst. And when you looked at his LinkedIn profile, the banner on there was a picture of the football stadium at the school that he was attending. Now, this is again, I'm not that big a football player, but one of those top 10, whatever you call them, that play each other and, or top tier 1, whatever they are. Anyway, so it's a very well-known school with an extraordinarily well-known and successful football team. And I said, okay, so perhaps it is time for you to transition from being a student to being a business professional. And the football stadium isn't going to do that for you. You want to be in finance? So what can you put back there that's going to more reflect the fact that you are now a young business professional with expertise in finance? So those are the kinds of questions regarding the banner on LinkedIn that, I suggest that people consider.
Okay, very good. And there's a program out there called Canva, CANVA.com. You can go to, and allows you to build, and you can do all sorts of fancy banners. And we'll talk about banners next Tuesday at the LinkedIn presentation also. Let's see here. Anybody else have any questions? I don't really, what advice do you have? This is a good one, Nina. What advice do you have for women's lip color?
Okay, 2 things. Number 1, like any makeup, it needs to be one that matches your facial color tones. So it's not about, does it need to be red? Does it need to be pink? Does it need to be orange? Just like when you pick clothing or jewelry or hair color or any of that, you want a color that complements you and energizes you. For example, if you put, let's say, an orange toned lipstick on me, I would look just god awful because my color tones are winter, summer. So I need things that that are appropriate for that, for that color tone. The second thing is the question of how bright or not bright, how dominant, how not dominant. You want it to be one that does what makeup is supposed to do, which is make you look better, not make you look like Halloween. So you want something that, just like your clothes and your jewelry, accentuate, a really good look for you, that doesn't overpower you, that doesn't overwhelm you. So in that case, for example, I'm looking around at some faces here. I don't see anything that looks really bad. You're going to want to pick something like that. Now, you also have, for example, the picture that I had in the presentation of the woman who was in gray hair, black and white and gray suit, and that red lipstick. It was awesome. I mean, that color just energized her. if you put that color on me, I would look so bad. I don't think I have any lipstick in that color tone. Every once in a while around Valentine's Day, I think I really need to have some. And I go out and buy it. It hangs around for a year or so. I've worn it once and it goes away because it doesn't do anything for me. Here's a place where I also kind of dance back and forth. I believe that on anything where you are not an expert, that there's usually somebody out there who is. And so it's the kind of thing where you can go to, if you're a woman, you can go to one of those makeup places and let them talk to you. Now, I have not found the advice from those places necessarily always good. I usually find the makeup somewhat heavy for a business environment. I usually find sometimes the colors aren't necessarily right. I haven't yet personally been to the one where they do color. There's one down here near where I live. There's actually a store that does custom lipstick colors. I have no idea what the cost of that is. But maybe they're good at it. But generally speaking, I think you can find your own. Just look at it and see if it matches your color. And by the way, the same thing is true of hair color. You know, you want a hair color that matches and complements your skin tones, all of that, because it all comes together and brings out a picture of somebody where you're not being kind of knocked off balance because things don't fit together properly. So hope that helps.
Great, Paula, thank you. Any other questions? I'm looking, somebody said, yeah, you get what you pay for. So.
Yeah, and that's with the professional photographer. And generally speaking, I'm going to say you get what you pay for, but I'm also going to suggest that that is only 80% true. You also need to vet the photographer, because I have seen some really bad photography by people who charge a really, really lot for it. Any of you had wedding disasters by somebody that you paid a lot of money to? So you want to make sure that it's somebody who knows what they're doing. Vet them, take a look at it. Does it meet if there's somebody that works across a broad range of venues, weddings and birthday parties and doctor's offices, staff pictures and professional headshots and, senior graduation pictures and all of that. Make sure that somewhere in that portfolio, they actually know how to take a professional headshot. And if you want to do it, you've got tons and tons and tons of guidelines here, and just see how far off they are from them, or whether they're willing to listen to some of the guidelines that you might be wanting to share with them, in terms of choosing your picture. But I'd say 80% yes. It's unlikely that a $50 headshot is going to do it. On the other hand, I think Jeff has a resource where they're doing them for free because of COVID and stuff. Didn't I hear you say that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll come up with a slide here in just a second with that.
Okay, but there are, because our photographer at one point had wanted to volunteer for that, and she said, but unfortunately the cutoff date for volunteering had passed when she heard about it, so she couldn't participate. But they apparently do have good people there that are doing the stuff. So you can run from free if you qualify. The old big box photo studios probably don't get you where you need to be. I can tell you where our price range is for a single headshot, studio shoot, fully retouched, digital rights, 100% guarantee, all the good stuff. For one pose final, it takes 20 or 30 and then you get to pick one. But one final pose runs you with tax around $250, maybe a little bit less. The executive package, which is 2 poses, including tax, runs around $350. So that's just our price point. I know there's some people out there where they do the single pose for a little less, but you've got to make sure that that pose includes retouching. That's one of the things that sometimes drives the price down, to less, because they're not doing the retouching. So that helped. And then I thought there was one more, Jeff.
No, that's all the questions here. I do want to show, here is Paula's website that you can go view. It is yellow.
It's
Brick path.
www.yellowbrickpath.com.
Right. And
They
if you
wouldn't
click
give
on
me
where
the-
you see that red arrow where it says articles, if you click on that, what will pop up is, if you go down to a whole bunch of articles she's got some other really good articles there. So, you know, I read Article 1, 2, and 3 also, but this is what Article 4 is, all about headshots. That first one there is the PowerPoint that you just saw. And then there's the checklist underneath that. I will be sure to put this web link in my email this afternoon, so you can click on it and follow, you know, to be able to get to all this information here. So everything here is posted. So Paula, thank you very, very much. Great information.
I just want to add one thing, Jeff. On the PowerPoint that's on the website, it includes the speaker's script. So you'll have all that information. It's not necessarily the recording of me, but it is the basic, you know, script if we were going to do a pure teleprompter voiceover or something like that.
Right. It's all right there for you. So thank you. And then we talked about, Walt Glass told me about this the other day. Hopefully there's still space available. Next Thursday, Cottonwood Creek Church is hosting a free professional headshot day for people with who have gone through job loss. Everybody who registers will receive a one-on-one 10-minute professional headshot by Fred Massey. And he's the member and owner of Fred Shots Photography. There's a link there. I know it's rather long. You're not going to be able to capture it. I will put it in my email this afternoon, so you can click on it if you're interested. That's next Thursday. It's up in Allen. So that information will be in the email I put out this afternoon. If you're not receiving mail from the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, please send me your email, or please be sure, if you're on Zoom today, please be sure to include your name, phone number, email address, and your area of expertise in the group, in the Zoom chat box. I'll put that stuff in. I'll update the roster. And for anybody on Facebook, you're welcome to send me an email to txjmoore, M-O-R-R, @yahoo.com. I'll get the information. I know some of you put your information in Facebook already. I'll be sure to go capture that this afternoon before I put that information out. Next Friday, Dr. Glenn Earl will be talking about the job search scorecard. It's a great little simple way to sort of keep track of what you do. It's nothing scientific. It's just here's a quickie way that if you have a phone call, you check that off and you give it X number of points, and you send out a resume, you get X number of points, and you just keep a little running tab of what you do every day. And if you want to do it more complicated, I've got a couple Excel spreadsheets that some Excel gurus have put together that go into great depth and great detail that I'll be able to send out also next weekend. Next week, so other programming we have coming on next week for Career.fw and CareerUSA.org. Next Tuesday, LinkedIn, on LinkedIn Tuesdays, I'll be doing the presenting next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. On Wednesday, session number 4 of 13, video interviewing. It'll be the Walt Glass Show. And then next Thursday from 1 to 2 o'clock, Effective Resume Thursdays, resume tips. We change it up every week a little bit, so hopefully you learn something a little bit new. And all that information will be on Zoom. You can follow us on Zoom or the Facebook Live page. You can check the career.fw.org calendar for more information. These sessions have been recorded, will be recorded. They will be on the Career.fw Facebook page. And later this afternoon, I will get this uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel. Please check each page, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. That way you'll find out when things are going on. So once again, if you have not, in the Zoom chat box or in the Facebook comment box, put in your name, phone number, email address, position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies. Please do that if you haven't done that. That way we can capture all that information and share it with everybody, and hopefully then you can look over what other people are looking for, because you may have leads at one of these other companies that somebody's looking for, and you can help them out. On the Career USA YouTube channel, what it looks like is if you click on the green arrow where it says playlist, up will come the different playlists that I've put together. At the very bottom, the red arrow, you'll see North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers, where it says view full playlist. You click on that and you'll see all the different events that we've recorded over the time. By the way, this will be session number 92 that we recorded since COVID's gone on. So we've done 92 sessions on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays. And we appreciate everybody who's participated and joined us. So thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.